Hello, thanks for tuning into another video of mine on the Behringer RD-8. So did one the other day, which was basically me just getting stupidly excited, taking this thing out of the box and having a quick play with it. This one's going to be a fairly in-depth tutorial. I'm going to try and go through as many of the features as possible. Rather than splitting it up into loads of separate videos, I'm just going to do it all in one dead long video, and I'll put timestamps in the description so you can jump about to the sections that you may want to know about. Right, let's just turn it off and on again. So, and as I kind of go through it, I will sort of talk about the bits I perhaps like and don't like and so on. Let's just turn that off, and I'm just going to get rid of all this so nothing's lit up that shouldn't be. Right, first thing you'll find when you first get this, which I found was really strange, is that there are no patterns at all preloaded onto it. Normally, I mean, I've got the Behringer TD3 over there. That's like full of patterns, so you can turn it on, press play, and have a listen to it. First thing that happens with this when you get it is you press play, and nothing happens. So you think, oh right, okay, all the volumes are down. So you turn your master volume up, and then in this section we've got volumes for everything. You've got these little orange dots. I don't know if you can see them. I'm guessing they're kind of like the optimum volumes for them. So next thing I did, and if you've watched my other video, you'll have seen this. I turned them all up and press play again, and still nothing happened. So it was at that point I realised, okay, there's nothing in here. If you want to just listen to the sounds, you select the sound, and then we've got the trigger thing along there. So what I'll do first of all is I'll just go through this, which what I would kind of like the voice section, and then I'll program some beats and go through the whole thing. So first section then, yeah, it's going to be the voice section. In terms of connectivity and outputs, I may actually do a separate video on those where you can see the camera. But I mean, basically, obviously around the back, you've got your power, you've got your headphones. One thing to remember on the headphone socket, which is this one here, weirdly, the filter section doesn't go through the headphone output. So you're not going to hear anything from the filter. Don't think your machine's broken. The filter section only routes out of the main mono output. Not entirely sure about the separate outputs, not tried that yet, but certainly on the headphones, you don't get anything. Okay, so if you want to sort of sit jamming with this with your headphones on, you're not going to be able to hear the filter through that output. There is a return thing at the end, which is something at this side on the back, which is, again, something I'll probably do in a separate video, because you can kind of like take the clave or whatever, a separate output, put that through an effects unit and then return it back in. But I think that's something for another video. So I'll cover all that then with all the different outputs. We've also got trigger outputs for triggering other stuff, which I'm going to cover separately. You've got 3 trigger outputs, and you've also got sync outputs again. I'll do all those in a separate video. So yeah, voice section. Let's quickly go through the voices. I mean, I'm not going to kind of review the sounds or anything. This is pretty much sort of like a how-to video, but it does sound flipping brilliant. So we'll look at this section first, the voice section. I'm just using this trigger button to get the sound. So you select each one. So the first one isn't actually doing anything. That's the accent, but the tune dial here is the tune for the bass drum. Okay, so. And again, this has got a little orange dot, which is kind of like, I'm guessing, the standard tuning. So basically, for every voice, you've got independent volume control. Okay, and then also for all of the voices, although the clap's slightly different, which I'll come to in a sec, we've got this tone, which basically just kind of applies sort of a little filter EQ kind of thing to the sound. So you can see it makes it a bit brighter when you turn it up, and then it's just kind of deadens it a little bit. And then we've got decay, so you can go from really short to long. And when we use the wave shaper thing, we can get a real like fat 808, even fatter than that. But very on the tuning, it's like dead smooth, lovely, lovely, lovely stuff. Okay, snare drum. So we've got an extra control here, which is the snap, which is kind of basically like turning the snare wires off, sort of. Or like so we can get it, you know, almost like a conga kind of sound. Okay, so the next section we've got switches here for different sounds. So we've got low tom, mid tom and high tom, and if we switch this we go to congas. And then on the rim shot we can have either rim shot or a clave. And also on the hand clap we can have hand clap or a maraca shaker kind of thing. Now on this one, if you're on maracas, this offset dial doesn't do anything, but when you're on the hand clap, it's kind of like a kind of changes the sound a bit. Because on that one, you're kind of getting almost just sort of like the reverby sound, and sort of the length of the clap. Okay, got cowbell, which has just got level control, no tuning on that, or tone or changing. So got cymbal, again, got the same tone thing, and again the K for the length. Same thing with the opens, so we can have a really long open. Okay, down to almost a closed sort of sound, and then we've got the closed hi-hat. So that is our voice section. So if we go kind of like to the next bit, which is going to be programming a beat, which is obviously the important thing, creating some sort of pattern in step mode. So basically over here we've got three different modes. We've got song mode, we've got pattern mode, and we've got step mode. So in song mode we've got 16 different songs, and in each of those 16 different songs you've got 16 different patterns. So it's I guess it's kind of like, think of your song as like a bank, you know, and then you got 16. So you got 16 times 16, which is 250, whatever it is. So a lot of patterns, basically. And you can chain patterns and you can chain songs together. So this is a pattern I just programmed in quickly earlier. Okay, so that is song 1, pattern 1. So if I go to pattern 2, okay, got another pattern in there, just a kick drum. And then nothing on pattern 3. So here's where I first went wrong on trying to program this thing. I was kind of clicking around all these buttons, realised, okay, that's changing the pattern. So I think, all right, let's try step. So, because when you're playing in that, there's nothing to indicate that it's actually playing. When you go to step mode, you'll start to see it kind of like the playhead now moving across. So I just assumed, as you would normally think, I thought, well, there's a record button there, but generally I find record button is for like if you want to play stuff in live. So I kind of thought, right, let's select the bass drum, let's put a 4 to the floor pattern in, plays great, and then, oh, it's gone. Try it again. And it's gone. And so, right, so what you've got to do to keep that, and there's you can use that as quite a nice little feature actually for a live performance thing, you've got to press have record active. Okay, I mean, you don't have to have it playing, but you can put those in. Now when I play it, it will keep it in. Okay, so you've got to make sure your record is active to get that going. So let's just kind of now what you can also do is use the trigger button to record stuff live. So if I want to audition that kind of thing. Okay, and you've got a pattern. Now, here's where I made the other mistake as well, because I then, if you go into a different pattern, it's fine. It's all there and saved. But if you turn the machine off and on again, that's gone. Okay, you're going to lose it all. So if I go like, there's my first pattern. Sorry, okay, pattern. Okay, there's one I had previously. Another thing I've just put in, but like I say, if I turn it off and on again, that's not going to be there. What you've got to make sure you do is save. So you're going to hit save, and then we're going to press pattern. You can see pattern 3 is white, so that's telling us that's the one that we're going to save. You can't save it to a different slot. You have to do that via copy. As far as I can tell, I have tried copying it across. Because sometimes you could like select 3 and I want to then save it to 5. You can't do that. You got to do that with the copy function, which I'll cover later. So pattern 3, is the one that we're going to save. So we're just going to choose that, press save, and now, hopefully, I'm going to turn it back on. Okay, go to pattern 3. Okay, and it saved it. So, two things, the important things to remember: your record and your save. So let's have a quick look at the copy and erase function while we're sort of talking about that. So let's say I want to copy pattern 3 over onto pattern 4. So we're just going to hit copy. We're going to press pattern. And then you'll see on here it says, or it did say source there. So we're going to select pattern 3. And it will say there pattern selected. We're going to press copy. And that kind of puts it into its buffer. And then it says there selected destination. So we're going to copy that to 4. And then this is kind of like your paste. So you press copy again. Okay. And then if I go to pattern, so there's pattern 3. And that's now on pattern 4. Bear in mind that's not saved. Okay. So if I turn the machine off and on again, that is going to have disappeared. So I would need to go to save. Pattern 4 there. Make sure you choose the one you want to save, because you can, I could choose save. Pattern 4 is the active one, the currently selected one, but you can obviously save any just by doing it like that. So, and then save again, and then it is there. Erase, basically the same thing. Let's say, okay, don't want that. We would press erase. It says select data to erase. So we're going to select pattern. Now we're going to select pattern 4. Again, if it's white, that means that's the current pattern that is active. And then we press erase again, and it's gone. So fairly straightforward. You get a bit of visual feedback here about stuff. I have actually found once you get used to remembering to save, it's turning it on and off again is almost a little bit like an undo function. So if you do something that you really stuff everything up and you want to go back to where it was before your session started, just turn it off and on again, and you can kind of use it a bit like an undo function. But sometimes you do lose a lot of work if you forget to save, or if you've programmed loads and loads of patterns and you suddenly have a power cut, you're stuffed. So yeah, make sure you keep saving as much as possible. So that's copy and save. Let's have a look at autofill next. So we've got a button down here that says autofill, and that's relative to these 4 patterns here. So we can use these 4 patterns as normal patterns, but we can also use this autofill function. So let's... Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for this first pattern here, and we're going to go to step. Make sure we press record. I'm going to just do like a random snare drum fill. Okay, I've got something else weird on that. Let me just get rid of that. Pattern. Erase. Okay, nothing on there now. Right, so I'm going to select that pattern. I'm going to go to step, snare drum, record, random snare drum fill. Right, so we can have that playing as a normal pattern. Okay, but what we can do is if you hold down autofill and then press that, it will play that bar once and then it will go back to the original pattern, which is very, very cool for live performance. This has got a lot of great features for live performance. So if I then hold autofill and press that anywhere in the middle of that bar, okay, it's going to go back. So I don't have to get it exactly on time. I can press it like on beat 1. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, do the fill, back to there. And if I want that one just to play constantly, I would do it that way around. Okay, so nice little feature for a live performance. Next feature we'll look at is pattern length, which is this bit here. So you can have basically up to 4 bars, so up to 64 steps. I think default setting is 16. So we need to be in to change the length, because you can see if we're in pattern. Let's choose pattern 2. If we go to step, you can see this lights up to tell us that we've just got 16 now on here. And what we would do is you've got to press the length, turn that on. Okay, so you can see it's just that first one's lit up, and you can see all of these are lit up white. So we can make it shorter than 16. I could just have like 4 bars, 4 beats even. So you'd light all of those up to have 16. If you scroll left, light all of those up, that would give you 32. same there, and then if you light them all up, that's giving you 64. So now I can scroll across and see those things, which page I'm kind of on in focus here. So I don't think, have we got anything on this one? I've just got a kick drum on here. Okay, so you can see this is now scrolling across. I've not got anything programmed in on the second, third and fourth bar. But what you'll notice here is I'm still kind of got page 1 in focus, because that's lit up there. So I can scroll across manually. So that's now page 2 in focus. So if I want to then program some stuff in on page 2, I'm going to put some snare drums in on page 3. And randomly some, I don't know, low tom congas on page 4. Okay, so we can do it manually. If we hit auto scroll, it will go through each page automatically. Okay, so you can see each bar. So you kind of got 4 pages, 1 for each bar, depending on your pattern length. Okay, let's go back to pattern 1. It's a bit more interesting. So let's have a look at again another couple of like little live performance things we can look at, which is this section here. So I'm going to call these the live performance section. So we've got 2 things. We've got step repeat and note repeat. So note repeat is great for. So I've got the snare drum selected. When it's playing, I'll turn that off to actually hear the sound. But we can like do. Obviously, we can just play. You can do your own little live. But if we put note repeat on. Okay, and we can have different values here. So we've got 16ths there. So if you want to go for something like crazy, like, you know, trappy hi-hats. Okay, that's very nice for like doing fills on the fly live. Personally, I kind of think these two, because that's obviously 16th, that's 32nd notes. So I'm guessing that's 64th notes and that's 128th notes. No, I can't really see a time where you would. That's cool, you know, going between those two, but that and that, don't know. And it'd be nice if you could program the different things you can, the different note values there. You know, if you could put some triplets and that kind of thing. As far as I know you can't. If you can, then please let me know and comment in the box below, because that would be very cool if you could do that. So that's note repeat. We've then got step repeat. So if we go into step mode, so you can see it going across, and what we can do is we can repeat 1 step, 2 steps, 4 steps, or 8 steps. So basically that's 1/16th note. That's going to be 2 16th notes, or half a bar. That's going to be a bar, and that's going to be 2 bars. So if you watch this, if I do it on that first beat, you can see it's just doing that first beat, repeating it over and over again. Go on to 2, it will repeat the first 2. Okay, on 4, it's going to repeat 4. And we're going to 8, it's going to go to here. So this is quite nice for doing like build-ups. Again, nice kind of thing for a live performance. And bearing in mind, actually, on your play, you've got to pause and play. So you can see I've stopped it there. So if I just pause it, it will start playing from where I left off, which is quite a cool feature. If you press stop, it will go back from the beginning. And while we're on kind of some live performancey stuff, we've got mute and solo. So let's deal with mute first. Does what it says on the tin. First of all, you can see they're all flashing red. The one that is flashing white that's the drum I've got selected. So if I just come out of mute, okay, you can see that selected. So if I select the kick drum and then go back into mute, you'll see that one is now, because that's obviously if I want to do the note repeat thing. Hold on, I'm not on note repeat. There we go, it's on the bass drum. Okay, Okay, so we can mute. Just press the pads and you can have as many muted as you want. Solo works in the way you would expect it. So let's say I want to just solo the kick. And again, we can have more than however many we want solo at the same time. So again, great for live performance thing. And I've got quite a few videos planned on the on this machine. I'll probably just do a jam just on here, and I'll do a jam with the TD3 as well. So that's kind of what I would call the live performance section. So we can create songs by chaining together patterns and songs. So what I've got at the moment is I've got that pattern on that one, just got a kick on that one, another pattern on there, and for this one I'm just going to do we'll do a quick little snare drum fill, just something random. That'll do. Right, first thing we're going to do is... No, I won't save it. Hopefully it'll be alright. I'll save it just in case. Otherwise I'll forget. So save in pattern 4 and save. So we've got that saved in there. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain these patterns together. These 4, so they will play automatically. And you've got some options as well in your preferences. Let's just cover that now. If we go to settings, and choose this one, preferences. On your songs, you can have them looping, so it will just basically keep going round and round. It will stop, so it will play all the things you program and then stop. And you're just using this data dial to change it. Or you can do hold. So you could have it to press... So in hold mode, let's say it's going to play pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, and then pattern 4. And what we'll do is when it gets to pattern 4, it will just keep repeating round on pattern 4. Okay, if you're in loop mode, when it'll play pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4, and then keep looping around. And obviously in stop, it's going to get to pattern 4 and stop. I'm going to leave it in loop mode for now, just so we can see what we're doing with that. So we're going to press settings a couple of times to get out of that. So first thing we're going to do is, so we're going to be in song 1, which I've got chosen there, and we're going to select our first pattern. So once we're in there, we're going to hit record. And you'll see we've got length flashing and erase flashing. That's telling us that we are in sort of pattern record mode, for want of a better description. Okay, so everything's flashing. So we're going to choose our first step. You can see we've just got lines here. So we're going to press 1. So that's going to show us we've got that there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make pattern 1 repeat. Oh no, sorry, I've got to press length. And I'm going to make that repeat 3 times. So if I turn that dial up to 3, you can see that is now on 3. So that will play pattern 1 3 times. I then want it to move on to pattern 2, and we're going to have that play once. So what we're going to do is going to press auto scroll, and then we're going to select the next step and the next pattern that we're going to have, which is going to be that one. That is going to be our second pattern. Okay, so that one's going to play once. We'll have pattern 3 is going to come in next, and we're going to get that to play 3 times, and then we're going to go to pattern 4, and that is going to play once. So once you've finished putting all those in, you can see it kind of lights up each one, so you can see we've now got 4 steps in there. I'm going to turn off auto scroll. So now we can kind of scroll between our patterns as we go through. Using this button here, you can see pattern 3 is going to play, pattern 1 is going to play 3 times, that's going to play once, that's going to play 3, and that is going to play once. So if we come out of record and then go into auto scroll. Okay, it's going to play this one 3 times. Move on. Play that on 3 times. And then back to the beginning. Okay. If you turn auto scroll off, obviously it's going to just play the pattern that you select, and it will keep looping that round and round. So let's just have a look at those settings again. If I go into preferences and let's just show you on stop. Auto scroll on. You got to make sure you rewind it as well, because you can play from whichever pattern you want. So you got to kind of rewind back to the beginning. So this time it will just stop when it gets to the end. Okay, if I had it on loop, when it got to that snare drum fill at the end, it would just keep looping that one round and round until we press stop, or we take it out of auto scroll mode. Now what you can do is kind of have a combination of the two. So let's say when I get to pattern 3, I want it to stay on that one for a bit. Okay, I'll just turn auto scroll off. It's just going to keep playing that pattern for me now. Okay, if I then want it to carry on, put that back on. Okay, so if you want to kind of like freeze your song in a certain space, just keep turning the your auto scroll on and off. Again, a lot of like very, very cool live performance stuff. Right, what we've got next, let's have a look at the Wave Designer and the effects, because that's about the only thing we've not looked at massively at the moment. Just very quickly here on the sync, you can choose between internal clock, which I've got now, MIDI if you want to have it from start again, if you want to sync it from an external MIDI thing, or from USB, or from something else that I don't know what it is yet. But anyway, I'm just using the internal clock for now. Right, Wave Shaper, or Wave Designer, as we should call it. So it's basically like a transient sort of shaper and dynamics for the attack and the sustain. So let's just select the kick drum. Now if you want to sort of, well, first of all, if you just do this and turn the dials, nothing happens, because you've got to decide which instruments you want to send this to. So you can choose everything, or you can just choose one. So if I select the kick drum, bass drum, now these will start to have some effect. Okay, now if you turn the decay right up, so you can see even when the decay's on full there, the sustain here is lowering it down. Now if you get shorter sound, you'll hear, okay, that attack, it's kind of like quite clicky when it's all that way down. It's not making a massive amount of difference on that one, but let's take that off. You can hear it a little bit more, but let's choose the snare drum. Let's come out of that, select the snare, go back into your sends, and what you'll see is that lights up white. If something's got a send selected, that is white. If there's nothing selected like that, that's off. Okay, so we're going to select the snare drum. So you can, it gives it a bit more snap on that attack, and then we can get quite a long kind of sound on that. So that's just down to taste, you know, kind of doing how you want it. Let's just try that kick drum again. Yeah, that's having more effect now. I don't think I had it. But anyway, yep. Now, on the filter, we've got a high pass and a low pass filter. So, again, let's just select the snare. So, you can't turn the dial. Right, okay. Nothing happens. So you've got to do your send thing again first to select which drum you're going to affect with the filter. We've then got to turn it on. Okay, and still we're not getting anything. Right, okay. Yeah, I've selected the bass drum, more pit. There we go. Right, okay. So snare drum. Okay, so that's a low pass filter. And we've got a resonance. Okay, and then we've got a high pass filter. So you kind of have to have it. You've got to have this thing activated first in your send before any of that will work. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. So if you want to bypass any of these settings, you have these on about 12 o'clock. So if you want like the natural sound of this without your wave shaper, have that at 12 o'clock and it sort of bypasses it. And we can record the filter automation. So let's just set that up. Right, let's just choose an empty pattern. That one will do. Right, I'm going to just put in just like a 16th note snare drum fill. So if you want to kind of like record a filter sort of sweep, I've done it already. All you got to do is have it on record, play. So let's just start from the beginning. I'm going to go that way. Okay, so you can record like the parameter dial there. You can also, if you go into settings and go into filter, you can then edit each step separately. So you can see we're starting at 253 and so on. So you can then get in really, if you want to just go crazy and adjust each step. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so yeah, you can go fill your boots and go crazy on that. So that again, that's quite cool for automation stuff. Then we've just got settings, and I think that's probably going to be about the last thing we'll have a look at. So got settings button over here. Enter the settings, and then you choose each of the settings depending on what we've got here. So MIDI, and what you do is to kind of scroll through the different menus. You do tap and hold, so you can choose your MIDI out. You can forward the MIDI to USB, turn it off, soft through, and you throw in your MIDI channels and so on there. And then you just choose whichever one you want with the dial. You then have to press settings again to come out of that menu, and then you go to the next one. You've got USB, again, MIDI channels and so on. Clock and kind of swing preferences, and these are all the things that are in the manual, so it's really a case of just sitting and probably reading through all of those. But what you've got with the global, with like the swing and the tempo and probability, Flam, and I think the analog clock mode, is you can decide whether they are global, song-based or pattern-based. So, for example, if the global tempo is set at 140, every pattern will be at 140. Okay. If you want to set it on a per pattern basis, you can save the tempo and all the settings based on the settings for each pattern or the settings for a song. So you've got a bit of flexibility in there to sort those out. We've then got map, where you can map your CC numbers, okay, for each thing, which is very useful if you're kind of sequencing this from something externally. So preferences is where we've looked at briefly with the chaining of the songs. There's some filter preferences, which at the moment I have no idea what they do. Let's just have a look. Again, you can have the filter preferences same as the other preferences, set to like global, song or pattern, so that you can set that for the high pass filter or the low pass filter depending on which song you're doing. Yeah, so I mean pretty much all of these settings, a lot of the settings you can have based on like global settings or song or pattern. Filter we had a quick look at, that's for kind of step sequencing the filter. The polyrhythmic thing, polymetric thing, is where you can have, if you want to create really, really crazy and weird patterns, that's where you would do this. So you might have, for example, 16 steps on the bass drum and 15 steps on the snare drum, so you kind of get evolving patterns as you kind of go through. So that's something I might actually do a separate video on, because if you want to go some crazy patterns, that will certainly allow you to do that. We've got, where are we up to? Random. So this will get randomly played sounds, okay, on pre-selected voices and triggers and so on. It's probably easiest if I just show you. So let's say we want. Oh, hang on, I'm not in it, am I? Random. So let's say we'll just select those first 4, and we're going to have those on just like the steps on those steps. Okay. In fact, let's just do, because I've still got my crazy come out of that. I've still got my crazy filtering going off. Let's just choose a new pattern. Right, okay, so let's just go back to that. So if I just go to kick drum, okay, on all 4 like that. If I then go into random, I'm going to select the kick, the snare, and all those 4, and just put it on those 4 patterns there. Okay, it's going to pick random different things each time. So you can kind of get some weird stuff going off, just some randomness. It doesn't generate a random pattern, but it will play random voices. Again, you know, it's there if you want to use that sort of thing. One thing I find I don't like, I can't remember if I said this already in the video, is, well, not that I don't like, but obviously we've got the color-coded buttons here for each beat, you know, beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, and you've got that line there which kind of indicates the end of there. So there's beat 1, there's beat 2. This line throws me off every time because I always keep pressing button number 10 for my beat 3 when it's button 9. But, and you see, you kind of got a division thing there for that one as well. That one really throws me off. But anyway, that's just me. We've got probability. So that is the probability that a pattern will actually play. Not a pattern, a sound. So this goes from basically 0% to 50%. So let's choose kick drum. Okay. And then you can choose sort of the probability of each step. So let's say if we say 100% on there. If we say, I don't know, 50. If you have it on 50%, it's going to play half the time. If it's on 0, it's not going to play at all. Again, I've not really got the right pattern for demonstrating that, but it's, you know, that feature is there for you to have a play about with, which is quite nice again to have like evolving patterns over time that just kind of just change slightly, again, which is pretty cool. Flam. Right, I'm going to just go into a new pattern on this. So let's just stick in a 4 to the floor pattern. Right, let's just turn the filter off. All right, hang on. I've got the probability on. Let's get rid of that. Hold on. So one thing you'll find actually, just with the probability thing that I've got turned on, the default thing is that if I go to that, you can see everything's active, and this is the same thing on the Flam. It'll probably make more sense if I show you on the Flam. So you have to kind of unactivate stuff. So there's my basic pattern. Okay, so it's got snare on 2 and 4, kick on all 4 beats. So let's say I want the snare drum to Flam just on beat 4. Okay. So I'm going to select Flam over here, and this is kind of like the Flam width. Okay, now if you hear that, that's basically affecting absolutely everything. It's affecting the bass drum, the snare drum, and everything. So if we go into the Flam settings, and first of all select the bass drum, you can see it's everything is lit. So that's going to flam on every single step. So if I turn all those off for the bass drum, okay, that's going to get rid of it. On the snare drum, I only want it to flam on this one. So I mean, you've got a lot of flexibility on it, but it's a bit annoying that it's all turned on to start with. So you've got to just just turn that off if you find you're getting flams and everything. That is why. Okay, so we also have another feature is the this repeat thing, RPT, which is like a note repeat thing. We can make a single note kind of repeat depending on the settings here, sort of automatically. So if we go into settings, I'm going to press repeat, and then you choose whichever, or you choose which drum you want first of all. So we're going to choose the snare drum, and then you choose which step you want it to repeat on. So let's go and put it on here on beat 2, and just so we can hear it, I'm going to choose the really fast 8 repeats there. I think that's 8. And then you've got to make sure you turn this on. So that's it without. Okay, so if I press that, you'll hear it does that. You can change the settings. I'll do a little like, so it's quite a nice, it's almost like a little buzzed snare drum kind of thing. And that's not going to do anything because it's not fast enough. Okay, so you've got that as a feature. You've then got step size preferences, which are these things here. Oh, sorry. Okay, so 16th is kind of like your normal sort of setting. That's the default setting, and then you can go crazy and change other things with those. So let's go back to 16. So yeah, I think that's about it. I think this video is probably long enough, and if you've stayed with me this far, then you deserve a medal. So that's basically, you know, it's kind of like a video manual, I guess. And sometimes I do these things for my own reminders, so I can go back and look at these things in the future rather than reading the manual. I've got to admit, the quick start manual that comes with it in the box is not very useful at all. It basically just tells you what the dials do. It doesn't tell you how to use the thing. You can download the full owner's manual, which is a bit more useful, but there are certain things in there that it doesn't tell you as well, which I'll cover in a separate video when I get onto the triggering and that kind of thing, but I'll do that next, and then I'm going to do another separate video with a bit of a jam and so on. So thanks for watching. Usual things, please like, subscribe, share the videos around. If you want to support the channel and help keep me going and let me buy more new gears that I can review and help you out with, then consider subscribing to my Patreon account, which is either $1 a month or $3.50 a month, for which you will get some free stuff. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.